I don't know why it was always a big black car that came. You know, a big black car. Big old Plymouth or something like that. Driving, coming in with the mission manager. Auntie's sitting there crying, please don't take my kids. And we came through this door here with two welfare officers. And we walked through here, through the garden. And it wasn't like this. It was just a garden, you know. And I can assure you, the frightening things that was before me, seeing those walls. Coming from the other side, I didn't take any notice. But when I walked in and seen those walls, and I looked up and seen that, you can imagine an Aboriginal girl coming from a mission. I never seen anything higher than that in my life, you know. So it was frightening, very frightening. And this is where we came through, and this was the door that they took us through to the front office.
Did it look like this?
Yeah, it's just all cleaned up now. Nothing's changed. Nothing has changed. Not even this. Still remember it. We walked through these doors and we had to sit here and wait. If they wanted to meet with you, they'd come out and stand with you at the front here.
And what was their role?
Well, it was to maintain obedience.
Yep.
To maintain obedience. And that was the time of having obedience from these steps down. And you just don't wish ever to come back unless you was with the matron.
Did we talk about the basement?
Well, years are going down there, I'm not.
Not going to go.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Do you want to tell us? Oh,
Yeah, well, that's the dungeon.
Yep.
What does just
Yep.
don't let your imagination go with you. It's a dungeon. That's where you went for punishment, for bashings, to get raped.
we know from Auntie Matilda a lot of atrocities happen down here and punishments down this area. But there's layers of history and perhaps many episodes untold. But dark, dank, away places often in institutions don't hold good histories, and understandably Auntie Matilda doesn't want to come down, but we probably have various layers. There's a lot of, people spend a lot of time in here, this is scary. A lot of writing, there's stuff on the walls. So by the looks, this is an area that they were locked in, I suspect, and in the dark. You are my world with I have nothing. And there's some really serious stuff there. Oh, graffiti histories. I suspect this is one of the punishment rooms. What a bad one too.
Why I came here is a very personal thing that I'm not going to talk about. Yeah. I'm only talking about being here and how I was treated. I was on Ngambri mission, and it was run by mission managers in them days. and their wives were called matrons. Don't ask me why, because I don't think none of them even knew how to put a Band-Aid on. Eventually got sent away by the welfare, and the police station was a really bad place to be.
Yeah.
With dirty old blankets. I mean, it's a jail where men was in Cowra, so from there got sent away, and I ended up in a place in Sydney, and then from there they process you and then send you to wherever they want to, and I ended up here. And all this was beds there. As you'll see, beds there, beds there. As Bonnie said, about 30 beds, all squashed in together. And Auntie would lay up there in that bed, and I'd look up at the walls, and I can hear birds and bats or whatever they was making noises at, you know, towards the end of going to bed. And then after that it was be quiet. And that's where you're standing now, darling, was where my bed was. Because I remember getting out of that bed and just walking straight to the toilet there. And that's how I remember. I'll never forget it. I'll never forget where my bed was. Never ever forget it. You get woken up at unearthly hours, get up, have a shower, and then you go in for your breakfast. And if you didn't like porridge, you could have another porridge. Any of the girls that can tell you the dungeons are down there, and that's and if you know, like time and time again, being locked up in a dungeon, and you don't see there's no windows. And a lot of atrocious things went on as well, especially with the bashings that we got.
Oh gosh.
Men and women used to bash us, and we were all spindly little things, you know, and it was hard to get a bashing from a bloke, you know. The best time that ever happened to me was when my father walked through that gate, and I was sitting on the seat there waiting, and they said, "Oh, you got a visitor." And when the gate opened and my father walked through, I nearly fainted. I just cried and cried and cried all day. He was allowed to stay with me, and I said, "How did you get here, Dad?" He said, "Oh, I got the train down here. The manager took me to the railway station." So, you know, that's the only best thing I can say about this place, was having my father to visit me. My life now is about talking about it. That's my memories. When you sit down and talk about these things, just letting them know, you know, what was there on a journey for all of us. I'll knock on the door sometime and go, but at the end of the day, I just want to leave a story.